is apparently going back to work, but work looks a little different now. People are working from home and still working from home. Even though the pandemic may have seemed like it has lifted, a lot of companies are realizing, like, wait a minute, I didn't need all of you in here anyway. So how are we going to make sure that we monitor and hold people accountable for working from home? I will let you know inside. Hi, I am Dr. Vernita, America's professor and the world's best empowerment and opportunity strategist. And I'm here to talk to you about technology, and it's not going anywhere. I wrote an article with some colleagues of mine called What the Tech, and talking about how to help pre-service teachers prepare for 21st century learners. Now, the name of this series is Beyond the Ivory Tower, meaning I want to take what we do in higher ed, like articles we've written, books that we've written, research projects that we've done, and bring that into the real world, because chances are you're never going to read those articles. You're not going to attend the conferences, and it can sound a little too technical, and you're like, what do I need to know about this for? So the reason why I wanted to talk about the article, talking about the pre-service teachers and helping them when they get into the classroom to work with students who are deemed as digital natives, that is important because the same thing is happening right now, even in the midst of the pandemic. Even though it looks like things are going back to normal, but chances are we're not going to go fully back to normal. People are still are going to be required to work remotely and use some technology to make sure that they are performing at the level that they should be performing. So, two things I'm going to talk about: pre-service teachers and what does that look like in this article, and then how does that relate to the real world. Pre-service teachers are teachers who want to be teachers. We're training them to be teachers. I work at a university, and I have done professional development with other universities and school districts on supporting teachers with content knowledge and their technology content knowledge. And what does that mean? Understanding technology, right? Now, technology is more than just like coding or learning how to program or things like that. While those are great, that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the actual use of picking up a tool or using software or using an app and incorporating that into classroom instruction. Now, people have said that the younger generation, the generation after the millennials, are digital natives and that they should be used to doing everything with technology. But I'm going to challenge that because that's not true. What is happening is the younger generation, they are just not afraid of technology. If you give them a phone, or if you give them a program or a new gadget, they're not afraid to go in, mess it up, and figure it out, right? Anything with social media, they learn quickly and they're just not afraid. And sometimes people translate that into, but they should know everything based on technology, and that's not true. Because people who are becoming teachers now, they're kind of in that last millennial phase, and they're part of the newer generation, and they're not using the technology. They've become afraid to use it to help students learn. Now, we ask them to do all things social media. If we ask them to post this or create a blog post or something like that, something that they're interested in, they'll do that, no problem. But there's something about transferring those skills into the classroom to help them to be effective educators with the use of technology. So we worked with them and realized it's their belief systems. Some of them have believe like, well, my teacher didn't use technology when I was in school, so that's why I have this stigma of using tech into the classroom. Like, I don't see how that's beneficial because a lot of the older teachers around them don't use it, and they don't see how to make those skills transferable. So if you have that problem there, where people in the classrooms, people who are teaching students, and they're not using technology to the highest level, think about what happens year after year after year when those students go into like elementary school, middle school, high school, maybe even to college or directly to the workforce. If they've never had like a high level of interaction with technology, what does that say when they get into college or into those jobs? And I'm going to bypass college a little bit because after college you go to work anyway, right? So when they're in the workforce, and let's say they've gotten by pre-pandemic, they've gotten by without doing a lot of technology. You know, maybe they do Word, Excel, or PowerPoint or things like that. Maybe some software, maybe some virtual meetings, but that's it. But after the pandemic, the whole world shifted to online. And there have been a lot of people who are working like freaking out because they didn't understand how to use technology. They didn't understand how to use Zoom. They didn't understand how to use Google Classroom, WebEx, Blue Jeans, any other virtual conferencing app, because it was more than just FaceTime, right? There were systems and things in place that you had to put in place if you still wanted to do your job. And then what about the people who were used to supervising a team? They had to learn how to supervise a team remotely and using the tools and strategies to figure out how to make sure that people are still staying on task even though they are at home. So think about that. It's like a domino effect. If they weren't exposed to technology in the school system, right? And then they kept being in places in the workplaces where maybe their supervisor or the boss of the company or whoever didn't put in the professional development to give them the time and the space to learn about these technology tools. And then that resulted into a lot of people either out of work or a lot of companies failing because they didn't know how to make that transition to doing things virtually. And then that just had a big collapse of a lot of things. So now people are like scrambling like, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do? But the people who have, and I'm not saying you had to learn all of the technology while you were in school or your job had to give you the professional development that you needed to learn technology. But I am saying there should have been a push, or there needs to be an even bigger push to give people the space and opportunity to play with technology. Yes, I said play. Yes, I said play. Because what happens is when you're in a high pressure situation and you're trying to figure things out, your brain shuts down and you're not open to learning. But if you're used to being in an environment to where, oh, okay, I can figure this out, and if I mess up, I mess up. No big deal. It's not going to cause the company to crash. And then when there's a crisis situation, you're not afraid to figure it out. And I know some people that have literally frozen teaching, working remotely, doing like their conferences or things. They stopped because they were so afraid to even try to learn technology. So what we did in higher education about helping pre-service teachers stop being afraid of using the technology for learning is the same thing that needs to happen like in the workplace. Supervisors, trainers, bosses, managers need to find a way to bring in technology for their teams, especially if they want their companies to grow and move fast, quicker, sooner, faster. Bring in those technology apps or even hardware, software, whatever the case may be that fits your industry, and allow their people to just work and play and learn the systems and not be so afraid. So yes, while that article talks about pre-service teachers, I wanted to bring that into the workplace because now we're seeing so much is happening. Like even though the world shut down, technology still didn't stop. So there were people who were still in their labs and whatever the case, wherever you do these technological advancements, they were still working and they were just waiting for the world to open up to put that stuff out there. So if you are still in the pandemic, if we're still in the pandemic by the time this is released or by the time you come across this, learn what you need to learn about all things technology. Go in your industry and see how can I advance what is happening in my industry and bring that to the company. If we're not in a pandemic by the time you see this, if you have any downtime, go and learn some technology that will benefit your company because you want to make sure that you are indisposable. Like they need you. You want to make sure that if something happens, you are the person that they can come to, because even though we're saying this and everyone should know something about technology, everyone's not going to do it. How about you be the one to do it? All right. So that is my first part of Beyond the Ivory Tower. There are standards for technology that people don't know about. So yes, there are standards, like it is a requirement for teachers, students, and administrators to know a level of technology. It is not always presented that way, but now you know. So all of you who are working and you are supervisors or CEOs of companies, you make sure that the people that you're hiring, they have some form of technological skills. Not know everything, but the willingness and the ability to learn those things. And if you're getting people that don't have that, contact your local school districts and say, hey, what is the problem? I know you all have technology standards that you must follow. How about you implement them, because we keep getting people who are afraid of technology or don't even know how to figure things out. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. I am Dr. V, and thank you for learning and listening with me. I will have information down below for you to get more information about that article I've written. And if you want some information about like digital observations or figuring out how to help your team, I don't want to say monitor, but hold your team accountable remotely, check out what I have below, and I will see you next time. Bye.